Hello, I'm Claire from Wild Ginger Films and I'm here with Vassos Alexander, BBC Radio 2 sports presenter, and he has written a second book. So, Vassos, just take us back to the start. How did you get into trail running in the first place?
I think basically, and you know this very well, it's your fault. This is all your fault. I met you in Keswick and I did a half marathon with a beautiful kind of shiny wooden boat across Derwent water to the start, and then I remember that first time I kind of crested this hill that sort of never ended, but then you crest the hill and then the whole of England is laid out before you, and I just thought, wow, you know, for somebody who lives in London and who kind of pounds pavements, suddenly it was like a whole new world opened up to me. Plus at that sort of time I think I'd just broken 3 hours in the marathon, and I think I needed something new, and then trail running was just, you know, perfect. And then the more I got into it, the more I loved it, and the more races I did, the more I wanted to do other races, and then the list just keeps growing, as you know. And here we are. Yes, I love it so much. I wrote a book, having sworn I would not write another book after the first one. I ended up writing another book.
So the first book was Don't Stop Me Now. The second book is called Running Up That Hill, and you've interviewed some quite spectacular trail runners and ultra runners in that. Who can we look forward to hearing from?
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky that I've spoken to some real kind of proper ledges.
Yeah, people like Jasmin Paris in there, Kilian Jornet, Emelie Forsberg, there's Chrissy Wellington.
Chrissy wrote the foreword for me. And like you're responsible for getting me into endurance running, I might be responsible for getting her into it a little bit. Yeah, Jurek, Dean Karnazes. I mean, I honestly, you know, you're on the phone to these people and you think, this is so great, I'm on the phone to Dean Karnazes. And even in my job, and I get to speak to, you know, remarkable sportsmen and women most days, I still was a bit starstruck when, you know, Jurek came on the phone, and he was really apologetic for being like 1 minute late. And I'm going, you're Jurek, you can be an hour late, it's fine. It was a real treat to speak to everyone. And the thing that I found about this sport is everyone's really nice. I mean, I'm not just saying that, but everyone really is kind of friendly and welcoming and pleased to hear from you, and most of all, interested as well as interesting, which is just fantastic.
You've got a lot of advice from everyone in the book. Is there sort of one piece of overarching advice that you think that they gave you from the book?
I go back to something that Debbie Martin-Consani told me on her way to winning the South Downs Way a couple of years ago, the 100. I ran with her for about 13 miles of it. And she said, you have to really want it, otherwise you'll find an excuse. And I think that's true. In every race, certainly over 50 miles, certainly 100 and beyond, if you don't really want it, something will go wrong and you will find a reason not to finish. I have to say, I've only ever not finished one race in the Welsh Mountains. We have unfinished business. The Berghaus Dragons back race and me, I have to wait till 2019 for that. But every race I've entered, I've really wanted to finish, but those words have kind of resonated, because if you don't, you know, the Spartathlon that I ran last year, you know, the state of me at the finish, I mean, I was, you know, I literally could not move my legs, not even a bit, unless I kind of actually moved them with my arms. So somehow, my mind got me to the finish, not my legs. So it's that, want it, and then you will finish.
And you've come a really long way from starting trail running 4 years ago to doing the Spartathlon and part of the Dragon's Back race. It's really amazing.
Thanks for part off.
What piece of advice would you give to anyone starting off trail running that you just couldn't learn from anyone else?
I think smile. Smile. Because, you know, things are probably going to get tough. Things almost certainly will get tough at some point if you're going beyond, say, a marathon distance. And if you smile, if you just take positives wherever you can find them, from the ever excellent volunteers, whether they're, you know, whether they're in mountains or roadside, but they're offering you drinks, or they're just encouraging you, or even from the kind of passers-by will look at you and they realise how long you've been running. Well, you've been running since yesterday. And they sort of look at you midway between bemused and impressed. But, you know, take joy in that, take pleasure in the scenery. That's the great thing about trail running. You just look up and it's wonderful generally where you're running. So just take pleasure in the little things. Hang on to positive emotions like gratitude, and that goes an awful long way. That is worth 20 free miles if you can just smile rather than be grumpy, which very few people are, but some people are. And I would say don't, just smile.
And dab.
Don't dab.
Don't
Not
dab.
if you've got a 13-year-old daughter. This comes back to a London Marathon. Anyone who shouted my name during that London Marathon, I dabbed to acknowledge, because I was just in a little kind of endorphin high all the way around it, you know, little dab. And
Can you just do that for the benefit of the camera, a bit of a dab? That's what it is.
Yeah. And my 14-year-old daughter saw this on the embankment. My wife said she saw me and I was like the happy idiot in a sea of misery, because I was the only one smiling and enjoying myself. And I suppose at around 3:05, there's lots of people who'd been aiming for sub 3 and had blown up a little bit. So, you know, they had every reason not to be kind of grinning like I was. But yeah, then Emelie saw me dab and she goes, Dad, look, singing, dancing, those are big no's, but dabbing, that's a red line. Please never do that again. It was beyond, you know, it had passed its sell-by date even when I was doing it. You know, doing it now.
I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, but you haven't got teenage kids. Yeah. So yes, I won't be dabbing in a race again, because Emelie, in fact, Emelie, if you were watching that just now, I was only giving an example, that wasn't a proper dab. Please forgive me.
I made him do it. So what's next for you then, Vassos?
I am very lucky because I've got a place in the UTMB this year.
Fantastic.
Which is just awesome. So that is next. That is the big thing looming large on my race calendar this year. So end of August, beginning of September, Chamonix. See you there. Can't wait. Cannot wait. I heard such great things.
Maybe your third book.
No, that's it now. That's it.
Are you sure?
If I'd had a bit more time, I would have loved to experience a few more races and put them in this book. I didn't have a bit more time, and that's fine. You know, I feel I've kind of experienced enough to be an authentic messenger of how awesome this sport is. But yes, if I'd had another year, then maybe UTMB could have gone in that last book. But anyway, no, this is not to be written about. This is just to be experienced.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for writing the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really inspiring, and I can really recommend Running Up That Hill as a great read.